Pope Francis, Papa Frankie, banning surrogacy? That was way out of line. You are not a doctor. You have no right to tell people what to do with their bodies. You are a spiritual leader, not a medical leader. Your field is people's souls. Please do not branch out into concerns you do not have the education or experience for. We already disagree on abortion, and I cannot think of a way to convince you you're wrong. If I did, I would. I believe there was some talk about abortions are okay if they save the life of the mother. Abortions always save lives, so that stance is wrong. I do not have any children of my own, and and my ability to have children is not a priority for me. But the bodily autonomy of others is a right I will always fight for. You don't have children either, Father. This is not something you'd ever have to deal with, so I don't know why you would condemn it. Are you equating surrogacy with sex work? First of all, what exactly is wrong with sex work? Mary Magdalene, one of Jesus's most beloved followers, was painted as a sex worker by a papal smear campaign against sex workers in the Middle Ages. Because if people are spending money at the brothel, then there's less for the collection plate. Is there a global ban on sex work? Because there's far more exploitation in that industry than surrogacy, I assume. A person with a uterus is welcome to rent out that part of their body, the same as a method actor becomes skeletal for a role. Looking at you, Joaquin Phoenix. And a lot of people, I guess they like being pregnant. That's not my prerogative, but if sister wives get to churn out a baby every year, that means anyone's allowed to do whatever they want with their bodies. You're also being very unkind to people who aren't able to have children, yet they want to pass on their DNA. If you're saying God says those people should die out, that's really mean. People with good genes can be unable to have children and vice versa. The most glaring offense of this statement is saying gay men shouldn't breed. Since there's no condemnation of sperm donation, lesbians are in the clear. That's not the issue, though. I really think you're trying to say that you cannot put a price on someone's body or the life of a fetus. I think I understand where you're coming from, even if I disagree. Surrogacy creates problems when you're paying for authority over someone's body, but if it's consenting adults, that's none of your goddamn business. Padre. What about people who do surrogacy without getting paid? Some people like being pregnant that much. Would that be acceptable? I was baptized Catholic when I was born. I was not given a choice, but that means I'm Catholic forever, whether I like it or not, and whether I believe in God or not, which I don't. My fellow Catholics matter to me. Some of my family members are devout Catholics, and I'll speak up for them whether I believe it or not. I have a right to, a duty to my family and culture. Which is easier, pregnancy or adoption? Neither. You still end up with a child at the end of either one. Children are a nightmare from start to finish. We would die out without them, so people need to keep breeding so we don't get the movie Children of Men. God, that was a good movie, though. Global chaos because everyone stopped giving birth. No babies, no children. That makes everybody miserable. I get vicarious joys and deep sorrow from other people's children. The prospect of being arm wrestled into bearing children of my own looms as the actor who played Arnie Grape drops heavy hints. How do you say no to that face? Seriously, you try. I can't figure it out. Help me. My struggles with mental illness would increase tenfold if I had children. And I don't think he appreciates that. He worries me too. I watch too much true crime, but a family annihilator named Chris Watts murdered his entire family because he was freaked out at the prospect of having a third child with his pregnant wife, and he was having an affair. I mean, which one of us is more likely to end up in that state of mind? I'll give you a hint. I understand how to take care of children, and it is possible to be responsible with your mental illness while raising children, but he hasn't shown me any responsibility so far. Wants me to be in love with the idea of his fantasy life without any substance. I can't trust him from this side of the screen. His ex-girlfriend looks in no danger of moving out. He said he's moving. Let's see what happens. I gotta talk more about the movie Children of Men. Fucking awesome Alfonso Cuarón movie. He directed the third and best Harry Potter. Children of Men is about in a dystopian world with no babies and lots of violence. Women just, there's no more fertility. Everybody stopped giving birth naturally. And they've got to hide a pregnant woman, a refugee persecuted in England at the time, from literally everyone who wants to control her and the baby. It's such an intense movie, the heart pounding about halfway through to the end. Shot by Alfonso with a handheld camera. No director does that. And it looked like a newsreel in a war zone. The baby is born and they walk through the crowd that stops fighting for a minute, just in awe of the first baby in years. They had been making women submit to fertility tests, searching for anyone with a viable uterus. Is this the world that Pope Francis is trying to is afraid of happening unless we ban surrogacy? Because we're all going to end up fundamentalist Mormons because they seem in no danger of dying out. Quiver full of tax deductions, you cheats. Is that what he thinks surrogacy is? Cheating God out of telling you not to breed? How dare you? There are a lot of people who rationally shouldn't be breeding, and no one can tell them not to. Anyone who can afford to pay a surrogate is obviously financially stable, and at least they have that going for them as far as parenting. There are 12-year-olds being forced to bear children because Pope Francis thinks abortions are bad for children. Come the fuck on. We are allowed to disagree. People don't have to listen to the Pope, but a lot of Catholics will. If anything, you're making them feel bad. But maybe they'll consider adoption. I don't respect this opinion, even though I respect the majority of, excuse me, of what Pope Francis says. See, there's, God is telling me I shouldn't be saying this about the Pope. That's why I'm coughing, right? Perhaps a discussion will change his mind. It is worth a shot. Ukraine is getting really good at shooting down drones. Russia's stupid war is going to backfire. Ukraine is going to get so good, the world will be sending soldiers there to train. They need more weapons. We need to start making weapons in Ukraine. Russia is getting weapons from Iran and fucking North Korea. So many war crimes. It's infuriating. Russia has veto power over their own goddamn war crimes. I'll say it over and over. Countries with nukes aren't afraid to sell weapons to supply this horrifying war. Ukraine is also getting really good at blowing up bridges. They waited until Russia was about halfway done with a bridge before blowing it up. So they wasted their time and resources first. Clever. Before Russia gives up. There's got to be a lot of Russians who aren't on Putin's side. These are rational people who aren't as locked down as North Korea. Russian propaganda is so rigid and ridiculous at the same time, it's probably boring to them. They're watching global media, hopefully seeing how senseless and unfair their government is being. Unfair to them, too. Putin thinks he's untouchable, and that's just not true. Russia has revolted several times in the past century. If they're good at anything, it's revolting. There's a blonde woman trying to run against Putin, and they won't let her. Bullshit. Let the blonde run, you cowards. That shows they're scared. Voting in Russia seems like buying a lottery ticket where nobody ever wins. I mean, if they're taking cues from us, storm the Kremlin? Should I be encouraging sedition in another country? I'm entitled to my feelings. I love that Zelensky keeps wearing t-shirts and sweatshirts in the military colors. We haven't seen him in a suit since before the fucking war. He's so committed, no one even questions it. How do you not respect that? Being so radically different while being the same. It's genius performance art simply by costume choice. Everyone in a suit is wearing a costume. A uniform is a costume. He's not wearing the starched, metal-covered formal wear of a general. He's in casual attire, sometimes an untucked button-down, because they're at war. He has to be ready to go at a moment's notice with the possibility of a physical attack. Putin wants to take out Zelensky, and I'd honestly jump in front of a bullet for Zelensky. Zelensky is too important for the world's safety. In Palestine, when asked about the abysmal soldiers' pay, a Hamas official said, "Ask Zelensky." Fuck you. Oh, come the fuck on. We have been funding Israel for decades. Your beef is with them. I understand what he's saying. Palestine is being invaded by Israel, but Ukraine didn't do a terrorist attack on Russia, and they're not being run by fundamentalist oligarchs anymore. How do you compare these situations? It's easier to choose a side with Ukraine. Whenever I try to choose a side in Israel and Palestine, I scream, "God damn it, they're both awful. They're both victims. I hate this." Russia are the bad guys invading Ukraine. Israel and Palestine have bad guys in charge who actually work together behind the scenes on both sides. This isn't a game to Zelensky. Not anymore. The actor who played Arnie Grape, a hilarious version of the artist formerly known as Prince, is in a surly mood 95% of the time. He's been a little bit more positive the past few days. Have you ever seen the movie Babe? It's about a baby pig being raised as a sheepdog by a quiet, weird farmer. Pigs probably could herd sheep if you taught them how. Pigs are smart, like dogs. Give them a purpose beyond being eaten, they'll live up to it. I keep saying, "That'll do, Kitsune," to Jack from Titanic. A parody of the famous line from Babe, "That'll do, pig." By the way, we should stop calling cops pigs. No one eats cops. And pigs are smart, loyal animals who generally don't hurt anyone, if they're raised well. Wild pigs are dangerous. They grow tusks naturally. A domestic pig can escape from a farm and become wild. They automatically grow tusks. Tangent. Kitsune is Japanese for fox. He's got some foxy features, obviously. In Japanese folklore, foxes are shapeshifters, tricksters, sometimes benevolent, sometimes sinister. There are domesticated foxes raised from birth, but you cannot domesticate a wild fox unless you like 3 a.m. screaming and smelly piss on everything. I mean, no kink shame, but I'd rather live with a human being with self-control. By the way, if you think you have cancer, go to a doctor and get a medical diagnosis. Otherwise, you've got no right to tell people you have cancer. That's a very loaded word. Doesn't matter what type of cancer or how severe. Say you have cancer, instant pity. People are more permissive of those who have cancer. Medical marijuana is proof. We only let sick people smoke weed first because it was so horrifying to watch people go through chemo without it. I've seen what medical marijuana can do for cancer patients. Seeing the pain leave their body, the relaxation settle over their face. They can eat a meal even when it's still overwhelming. You cannot drink alcohol and expect to survive chemotherapy. Alcohol is not medicine, no matter what L. Ron Hubbard says. You may be temporarily killing the pain, but it'll make the pain worse in the long run. Weed doesn't kill my liver, eat away at my stomach lining, make my pancreas necrotic. Alcohol causes cancer. There's evidence that weed could prevent cancer, especially concentrates. These two substances are not alike. I'm completely aware of my addiction issues, and I work on it as much as possible. Dependency is a danger with any substance, including the ones our brains create when seeking or indulging in a drug. It's almost a high to get what you want, especially when people tell you not to. That's how we stay in denial, because we don't want to be wrong. We want our needs to be real. No one needs alcohol. I'm convinced of that. People need weed like I need the rest of my psych meds. Alcohol doesn't help cancer patients either. You know what would help me? So some 12-year-old on the internet called me grandma and told me to buy a guitar. And I'm like, I don't want to buy a guitar. I want Billy Joe Armstrong to give me one of his guitars. It'll be more special that way. I'll practice more because he believed in me. I've been given several guitars and I've had to leave them behind or sell them. The only instrument I ever bought for myself was my ukulele. Little Red Uke the God Machine. $26 on Amazon. Paid for herself more times than I can count. She's a 2016, still sounds bright and clear even after all the journeys up and down Sunset Blvd. The more I walk, the more people I meet, the more pocket money I have. How much money do you make when you go for a run? Because I can make about $20 to $30 an hour if I really hustle. I have the energy for about 1 to 2 hours a day, usually make less the second hour as I run out of steam. Even though the interactions last about 2 to 5 minutes, I still run out of social energy before I run out of physical energy. People who say no are usually polite. I've realized I don't need to say what the money is for, usually for laundry. The more change in my pocket at the end of the day, the less desperate I am and the better I play. I'm bright and friendly, a smile screwed on my face as I walk. I wear sunglasses so I can take them off when I walk up to someone, like a Clark Kent effect. In the winter, I wear all black with a long, flowing black coat, my cherry red ukulele standing out against the darkness. It was cold the other day, very windy. I gave up asking people after making only $8, but I still made something despite the weather. Los Angeles winter is nothing to me. It's brisk, not that burning, needling cold of upstate New York. More like when you open the refrigerator too fast. I wish I had blankets to pass out to homeless folks. Instead, I have to give them a look of sympathy and keep walking. If they ask, I give them a share of my winnings. That's what I like to call it, my winnings. It's a gamble to walk up to a stranger and ask for money. I don't feel like a loser when somebody says no. I've only bet about 10 seconds of my time and a smile. Most of the time, I don't even stop walking unless they say yes. My poker face is open and welcoming. My skill just gets better and better. Will I give this up if I make it big? Probably, but it's fine for now. I wondered if Green Day gets sick of playing basket case at the end of every show, or in every show. I seriously doubt it. You don't get sick of a song that makes people go insane with joy. Sing along, screaming in ecstasy of nostalgia and emotional release. That's a natural high for the audience and the band. I would never get sick of that feeling. What's so great about Green Day? Just because you're not in the band doesn't mean you're not in the band. I feel like we're all part of Green Day. The band wouldn't be what it is without us. We're all participating, creating the musical experience together. If Billy Joe was singing Basket Case over and over to a brick wall, he would want to die. Instead, he pulls fans on stage to play guitar with him. A YouTube commenter told me to buy a guitar and learn to play American Idiot after I worked so hard to get the vocals right. I understood that he knew I'm capable, and I am, but I feel like I'm practicing to the maximum without actually joining the band. And I totally would. Come out on stage for a few songs, play the ukulele for Minority, sing Jesus of Suburbia and American Idiot with Billy Joe. It's not all about me, but I would be a good supplement. Maybe they would let me read some of my writing on stage before the show. I could get the crowd all riled up and ready to burst as soon as they come out. Good stuff. I think Kanye West talks about his wife like I talk about Green Day. Like she belongs to him. I mean, is he not getting the joke on purpose at this point? I was obviously expressing my love for Green Day in a hyperbolic, sarcastic manner. Green Day has been around since I was a little kid. They make music for themselves and all their fans. Maybe every Green Day fan feels so seen, so they do belong to all of us. You can't own a human being without consent, I guess. I still don't think it's a good idea to put your entire life in the hands of another, especially narcissists. Kanye thinks he loves me like I love the actor who played Arnie Grape. That's a bit of a horrifying implication. Kanye wants a wife he can own. I'm more interested in tutoring Northwest, his daughter, so she realizes what a jackass her father can be. Obama said so. Astute assessment. What's a jackass? Someone gleefully acting stupid and offensive, whether they're aware or not, especially when it disgusts people. I mean, Green Day does that sometimes, but it's ironic. It's a joke on themselves. Not ironic when somebody really doesn't get the joke. As much as I hate to admit it, South Park was kind of right. Kanye really does not get the joke. It's like he has a disorder where comedy is like beyond his comprehension. I would be fascinated to read the fine. That would be some data for posterity. All kinds of mental illness up in there. A treasure trove of dysfunction. Sad as it is, I am very interested in what a psychiatrist would say about Kanye West if he was given a clinical diagnosis. Go for it, Kanye. I dare ya. I double dare ya, motherfucker. Oh my fucking God. By the way, I am so sick of seeing King Charles in my scroll on the security he needs to visit his family in England. That is the only issue. Harry won't take his family into a dangerous situation, and the government isn't helping them be safe. Diana didn't have royal security either. See how that went? Meghan Markle isn't keeping them apart. That's ridiculous. She loves attention and would visit in a heartbeat if it was safe, but it's not. Charles is the fucking king. Stop blaming the black girl for your family conflict. This affects me now because those biracial grandbabies are my fellow Americans. Everyone has a right to feel safe, and the royal family is not safe in England without extra security. There are definitely some racist fucks who would attack them. You can't even get some extra cops to look out for them? Like, why? Why is this such an issue that they had to take away the safety of his fucking family? Why not understand the trauma that Harry carries around means he needs to be assured of his family's safety? Charles has no right to complain about never having met his grandchildren. It's entirely in his control. He's the head of state now. Make it happen. By the way, you know who Seth MacFarlane really owes $100 million? All those little girls who looked up to me as Princess Leia. They were the ones insulted by your main security guard. They were who I was defending. In that moment, and my entire time petitioning for Carrie Fisher's star. There was always a purpose higher than myself. I don't want your blood money. I want those little girls to realize they're worth more than being thrown in jail for sitting on a sidewalk. Make that happen and get out of my face. I don't owe you a goddamn thing, Seth MacFarlane.